Taz, tell me about the journey you've taken to get to where you are today in the ceramics world.
Well, I guess I've always been around pots and pottery. Grandparents were particularly interested in pottery and would take me to pottery studios, which I have very vivid memories of looking through the glass. It was all brown. It was somebody who worked in terracotta, and the windows were completely brown. And I kind of pulled myself up on the ledge and peered through at this potter working, and just remember thinking, I wish that was me. And not long ago, I was sat at my wheel, and it was dark, and I looked up, and I saw this potter throwing pots, and I thought, oh, it is me, and that's really exciting. But yeah, I mean, I kind of followed the traditional route through college and university. I felt for me that I really learnt technique of making, of throwing, of glazing and all those things whilst I did my BA. But it was really doing my MA where I think that I discovered, I guess my identity as an artist, and the kind of things I want to say through my work.
What are those things that you want to say?
I think, like a lot of ceramicists, I have a bee in my bonnet about the value we place on objects. I think that as potters, actually, it's got to come from ourselves and start with ourselves, and I think that we need to value what we do before other people will. So that's been quite an important part of what I do. That's why I look at more traditional, I guess, utilitarian wear. My main inspiration originally when I first started making was Japanese ceramics, unlike most other potters. I really enjoyed the ideas of the concepts of impermanence, things being imperfect and incomplete. I did a lot of raku wear and deliberately smashed up a lot of my work and fixed it back together again. But I found years later that the thing that I was searching for was right here in Barnstable.
What is this pot that you're making today?
I'm making a small bottle today. I like to put in some fresh lines just to give it that vigorousness. It's still got a bit of movement once the wheel is stopped. And they're just nice little objects. They come from a larger cider jar kind of family. It's more of an accessible size, I guess. I think every piece that I make has reference to a shape from Tudor pottery. So the images, for instance, that I have above my wheel are all of Tudor pots, and that is what I'm aiming to replicate, just in terms of shape. So the baluster jugs, which are kind of traditionally a third wide as they are tall, is a really interesting shape, which I'm quite obsessed by. I use a lot. And I love the panchions, the big old bowls, and things like the costrals, which are a type of hip flask. And the modern day, obviously, equivalent being a plastic drinks bottle. So those two were fairly obvious starting points for me. and also the fact that I throw. I'm not using industrial methods. My work is made on the wheel.
You're also combining this clay with things like plastic and metal. How did that come about?
It was during my MA studies, and I'd gone down this road of looking at traditional ceramics, but really needed to find the me in the work, the now in the work, I guess. I've always been interested in doing something a little different, and it just made sense. It just, as soon as I started to think about what the modern day equivalent of a hip flask or a panchion, what is all around you is plastic. Particularly because the work I'm looking at is utilitarian, where it's throwaway. It would have been a throwaway commodity. It was cheap. It didn't have to last. So it had similar references. I think I also like being a bit naughty, and there's ultimately something transgressive about combining plastic with ceramic. I like people to like my work, definitely, but I quite like the reactions that I get sometimes of, you can't do that, it's somehow not allowed, and I enjoy that side of things. And I also think you can find beauty in anything. In any object, regardless of its material.